A realm beyond our own, where the fabric of reality was as malleable as a thought. Colors danced and swirled in mesmerizing patterns. This ether-like dimension was like looking through a kaleidoscope that never stopped turning. One moment you might witness a glowing forest, the next, a shimmering ocean under two bright moons. The sky above was a canvas, painted with deep blues and fiery reds, shifting as if the universe itself was alive and breathing. In this ever-changing world, strange and beautiful beings floated through the vibrant ether. Among them was a trickster entity, a creature with a mischievous grin and eyes that gleamed with the knowledge of 1,000 secrets. Its form shifted and shimmered like living shadows, wearing multicolored patterns that seemed to mock the very concept of form itself. It was said that this entity was drawn to intense lights like a moth to a flame, eager to play tricks and bewilder those who dared to shine brightly. Amidst this cosmic ballet, one light shone brighter than any other, its glow a beacon of hope and clarity. The entity squinted at the brilliance, both frustrated and amused by its intensity. "Why shine so brightly?" the entity hissed, its voice a melody of intrigue and mockery. "Do you not fear the darkness that seeks to consume it? A light like yours hasn't pierced the veil across dimensions in centuries." The light flickered, then pulsed even brighter, as if in response. "The light shines through the darkness," it replied, its tone calm and resolute. "For even the deepest shadows cannot exist where there is light." The entity's grin widened, its form flickering like a flame in the wind. "Then let us see which prevails," it challenged, its gaze locked onto the brilliant glow. "Prepare yourself, for I shall delight in this dance of shadows and light." With a wave of its shifting hand, the trickster entity created a beacon of light and attached it to Lyric's soul, still nestled in his mother's womb. This beacon would draw the darkest and most malevolent beings to him. The being had a plan. It knew Lyric could see the truth behind facades, and it wanted to use this against him. It wanted him to see true hopelessness, despair, and all sorts of horrible things, hoping this would scare him away from using his gifts. The trickster's eyes gleamed with anticipation. "Let the darkness come," it whispered, almost to itself. "Let it challenge his light and test his soul." As the vision faded, the scene shifted to a quiet, dimly lit room in the real world. The air was filled with anticipation as Lyric's mother lay in labor. Moments later, a cry pierced the silence. Lyric was born, his arrival marked by an inexplicable glow that seemed to emanate from his very being. The trickster's challenge had begun. Years later, Lyric sat in his room, unaware of the cosmic game set in motion before his birth. He had always felt different, a sense of otherworldly awareness that set him apart. Little did he know, the trials and challenges that awaited him were about to unfold. Lyric's childhood was marked by unusual experiences that he couldn't quite explain. He often saw things that others couldn't, shadows that seemed to move on their own and lights that flickered without a source. His parents, though loving and supportive, were often at a loss for how to help him. They couldn't see the world the way Lyric did, and as a result, he often felt alone in his experiences. The first significant encounter with his gift occurred when Lyric was in 3rd grade. He was spending the night at his cousin's house, enjoying an evening of games and laughter. As the night wore on, Lyric suddenly felt a shift in the atmosphere, a pit in his stomach signaling that something was not right. Moments later, there was a knock on the front door. One of Lyric's cousins got up to open it, but Lyric immediately sensed danger. "Don't open it," he shouted, his voice filled with urgency. "Something's not right. Its vibe isn't right." His cousins exchanged confused glances, not understanding what Lyric was trying to say. As they were talking, the knocking moved to the back door. This sent chills down their spines, and they began to feel the same unease that Lyric had sensed. "Wait, is the gate closed?" one cousin asked. "Yes," another replied. "Then how did they get out back? The privacy fence is too tall to be jumped over." The knocking continued, moving from the front door to the back and forth in a relentless pattern. The sound grew louder and more insistent with each repetition. One of the cousins, unable to resist his curiosity, decided to see for himself. After the knock on the back door, he ran to the front door, knowing it would be next. "Don't," Lyric pleaded, but it was too late. His cousin swung the front door open, revealing nothing but the empty night. To the cousins, the doorway was vacant, but Lyric saw it. A woman, her body cut up and bloodied, her eyes filled with malice and hate. She was a vengeful spirit, her presence radiating pure malevolence. Lyric's heart pounded in his chest as he stared at the apparition. "Close the door," he cried, his voice trembling. His cousin, seeing the fear in Lyric's eyes, quickly slammed the door shut. The knocking ceased, and an eerie silence fell over the house. To the cousins, it was just a series of knocks in the night. They couldn't explain how or why, nor did they see the woman. But for Lyric, this was only the beginning. Lyric was in 5th grade now, swinging back and forth on the playground with his friends, trying to convince himself not to look over at the back of the school building. The sun was shining, and laughter filled the air as children played around him. But Lyric's mind was elsewhere, lost in the memories of what he had seen. "Don't look," he muttered to himself, gripping the chains of the swing tightly. "Just keep swinging and don't look back there." "Hey Lyric, you okay?" one of his friends asked, noticing his distracted expression. Lyric forced a smile. "Yeah, I'm fine. Just thinking." It had all started on a chilly afternoon a few weeks ago. Lyric had been playing alone, exploring the edges of the playground while the other kids were busy with their games. As he wandered closer to the back of the school building, he noticed something strange. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw what looked like a group of kids, no older than himself, running down the stairs that led to the basement of the building. They stood at the bottom of the stairs, their laughter faint and eerie, like an echo from another time. Curiosity had gotten the better of him, and he had turned to get a better look. But the children simply stood there, staring up at him with vacant eyes. Confused and a little scared, Lyric had hurried back to his friends, desperate to share what he had seen. "Did you see them?" he had asked, his voice trembling with excitement and fear. The kids standing at the bottom of the stairs. But every time he asked, the answer was always the same. No, they hadn't seen anything. His friends would look at him with puzzled expressions as if he were speaking a different language. "You're imagining things," one of his friends had said with a shrug. "There's no one back there." Lyric had tried to brush it off, convincing himself that it was just his imagination playing tricks on him. But the memory of those children lingered in his mind, haunting him. He had asked his teachers, the school janitor, and even his parents, but no one ever saw what he saw. Instead of feeling more normal, each attempt only made him feel more different. The other kids started to tease him, whispering behind his back and making jokes. "Hey, ghost boy, seen any more imaginary friends lately?" one of the kids jeered. Lyric's face would flush with embarrassment, and he would look away, trying to ignore the teasing. But the feeling of isolation grew stronger each day. He felt like an outsider, someone who didn't belong. But today, he was determined to resist. He swung higher, the wind rushing past his face, trying to focus on the simple joy of the moment. Yet, no matter how hard he tried, his thoughts kept drifting back to that eerie scene. "They're not real," he told himself, closing his eyes for a moment. They can't be real, but deep down, Lyric couldn't shake the feeling that he was different. Why did he see things that no one else could? Why did it always feel like there was something lurking just out of sight? It bothered him, made him feel isolated and confused. He wanted to be like everyone else, to not have to question every strange sight or sound. One day, Lyric decided to finally see for himself what and why he was seeing these children. Determined, he swung on his swing as high as he could, feeling the rush of adrenaline. As he reached the peak, he jumped out, flying through the air like a superhero. The sensation gave him a boost of confidence, and when his feet hit the ground, he took off running towards the stairs at the back of the building. "I have to run," he thought to himself, his heart pounding. "I can't give myself time to talk myself out of this." With every step, he felt a mix of fear and determination. He had to know what was down there, what those children were trying to show him. As he reached the bottom of the stairs, he paused, taking a deep breath. The entrance to the basement loomed before him, dark and foreboding. Summoning all his courage, Lyric stepped forward, ready to uncover the truth behind the hidden shadows. As Lyric stepped a couple of steps down the stairs, his breath caught in his throat. Emerging from the darkness behind the children was an insidious being, a presence of pure hopelessness and fear. It was a figure completely enveloped in darkness, like a man-shaped shadow that seemed to absorb all light around it. The air grew colder, and the oppressive weight of dread pressed down on him. Lyric's heart pounded in his chest, his legs suddenly feeling like lead. He couldn't move, couldn't breathe. His wide eyes locked with those of the demon, its eyes glowing with a malevolent, fiery intensity. The sight was enough to petrify him with terror. He felt his throat tighten, and he wanted to scream, but no sound came out. It was as if time had frozen. The demon's presence was overwhelming, suffocating, like being trapped in a nightmare where every ounce of his courage was drained away. Lyric could feel the darkness seeping into his very soul, a cold, creeping sensation that gnawed at his resolve. The terror was so consuming that he began to believe his life was no longer in his hands. It was up to the demon now, whether he lived or died. Why can't I move? Why can't I scream? Lyric's thoughts raced, his mind a whirlwind of fear and confusion. This can't be real, it just can't be. Every instinct in Lyric's body screamed at him to run, but he was rooted to the spot, paralyzed by the demon's gaze. The children at the bottom of the stairs seemed to fade into the background, their forms growing indistinct as the demon's presence consumed his attention. He could feel tears welling up in his eyes, but he couldn't look away. The demon took a step forward, the darkness around it pulsating with a sinister energy. Lyric's heart felt like it might burst from his chest, his breathing shallow and rapid. He knew, deep down, that this was a test, a challenge to his very soul. But he was just a fifth grader, and the terror he felt was all-consuming. He felt powerless, a small child facing a monstrous force beyond his comprehension. Please, someone help me, he thought desperately, hoping against hope that someone would come to his rescue. But he was alone, facing a fear unlike anything he had ever experienced. Just as the demon seemed about to reach out to him, a sudden, inexplicable warmth washed over Lyric. It was as if a protective light had enveloped him, pushing back the darkness. The demon's fiery eyes narrowed, and it hissed in frustration, retreating back into the shadows. Lyric gasped for breath, his legs trembling as he regained control. He stumbled back up the stairs, his heart still racing. As he reached the top, he collapsed to his knees, overwhelmed by the intensity of what he had just experienced. Tears streamed down his face as he tried to make sense of it all. What just happened? He whispered to himself. Why did that demon come for me? He didn't understand why he was different, why he saw things that no one else did. All he knew was that the world he lived in was filled with things beyond his comprehension, and it scared him. As he sat there trying to steady his breathing, he felt more confused and isolated than ever. Unknowingly to Lyric, the trickster was watching from his dimension, seeing exactly what he had planned come to pass. In the ever-shifting, ether-like dimension, the trickster entity watched Lyric's torment with a malicious grin. Its form shifted and shimmered, a chaotic blend of colors and shapes, reflecting its dark delight. The entity's laughter echoed through the realm, a sound that sent shivers through the very fabric of existence. "Ah, young Lyric," the trickster crooned, its voice dripping with mockery. "How beautifully you dance in my web of shadows. Look at you, a mere child, trembling before the darkness. How pathetic, how weak." The entity's eyes gleamed with a sinister light as it continued its monologue. "Did you really think you could escape my grasp? Did you believe, even for a moment, that your feeble light could withstand the darkness I command? You are nothing but a plaything, a pawn in my grand design." With a wave of its hand, the trickster conjured images of Lyric's encounters with the supernatural. The vengeful spirit, the eerie children, and now the demon, each one a carefully orchestrated part of the entity's plan. "Do you see, Lyric?" the trickster hissed, its tone turning harsh and cruel. "Do you see how easily I manipulate your world? How effortlessly I bend reality to my will? Your gift is nothing but a curse, a beacon that draws the very darkness you fear. And I am the master of that darkness." The entity's laughter grew louder, more sinister. "Oh, how I relish in your suffering, your fear, your confusion. They are my greatest triumphs. You are but a flickering candle in the storm, and I am the gale that seeks to snuff you out." With a malicious grin, the trickster continued, "But this is only the beginning, young Lyric. The games we shall play, the torment you shall endure. It will be a symphony of despair, a dance of shadows and light. You will beg for mercy, but none shall come. For in my realm there is no hope, no salvation, only the endless abyss of darkness." The trickster's eyes gleamed with malevolent delight as it watched Lyric struggle to comprehend his experiences. "Look at you, cowering like a frightened child. Oh wait, you are a child, aren't you? Pathetic. You don't even begin to understand the true nature of your gift, the power it holds. And that is precisely why you will fail." The entity's form shifted, becoming more menacing, its voice dripping with venom. "Every step you take, every attempt you make to understand your gift will only lead you deeper into my web. You will see horrors beyond your darkest nightmares,